So I've been doing a lot of thinking more recently. I think I found that there's one thing that probably 99.5% of us guitar players can agree upon. We spend a lot of time, like a good chunk of time, just trying to chase tone. And I think with that comes a lot of different methods that we've tried, whether that be using different cables, using different patches, using different amps, using different guitars. And when you finally find that method, when you finally get that hypothetical perfect tone or ideal tone for the situation that you're going for, it's like we create these moments, right? These moments where it takes us back to the first time we played guitar, or to getting that exact tone that we were looking for, recreating someone else's sound, or we get to create these new moments where we're either creating for ourselves or creating for other people. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about playing guitar in general. But there's one thing that I think a lot of us guitar players forget. One specific thing, that it's not just about getting the tone, but being able to capture the tone. Now, when I say capture, I don't mean with a Kemper or a Tone X or something like that. I also don't mean capture a Pokemon like Ash Ketchum and his crazy friends. I'm talking about the actual act of recording guitars. And this specifically comes because I've noticed that the world is changing, and I think a lot of people have noticed that when it comes to technology and just guitar playing and the music industry as a whole. When you're a guitar player, it used to kind of be just you're a guitar player. But nowadays, everyone's kind of just become this jack of all trades, where you're not just a guitar player, you're an engineer, you're a producer, you're a recording artist, you're everything all in one. And that gives us a lot of great opportunities because we have a lot of access to things that we didn't have before. We get a chance to kind of really dive deep into how we're going to capture those moments and make them kind of live on. So today I wanted to try and do that. Wanted to try and really put my money where my mouth is and capture one of these moments. So I have a project that I've been working on for a little bit. So I'm going to try and get as close to the perfect guitar tone as I can possibly get in this moment right now and try and capture that for the project. See if I can make it even bigger than I ever have before. So let's get going. So as always, I think the first thing you need to do with any sort of project is you need to get it right at the source with your tools. And one of the tools that I've been using like more recently, just in pretty much all of my guitar recordings, is a Royer R10. It's a ribbon microphone, and the reason I use a ribbon microphone, not to get too much into the nerd stuff, is because of the actual frequency response. And what that means is, just like every guitar sounds different, every microphone kind of sounds different and has a different response in different frequencies when you use it. And I like ribbon microphones on electric guitar amps specifically because it has a very flat frequency response, as seen right here. You get to hear what's actually coming out of your amp or out of your guitar. But I kind of wanted to go even bigger when it comes to what I'm doing right now. So my friends at Royer actually were kind enough to send me an R121. This exact microphone was one of the mics that was used on one of my favorite tracks of all time, Game of Love by Santana and Michelle Branch. It was one of my favorite guitar tracks ever recorded. Thank you, Santana. All right, so I'm gonna keep it super simple, like as simple as possible when it comes to how we're gonna do it today. I have the Princeton. I have a couple pedals I'd also like to try, but this is kind of a pop track, so I like the clean tones that are coming out of this thing. And when it comes to miking, if you've been anywhere in the realm of like recording music or recording arts in any genre of music, you've probably heard the term get it right at the source, which basically means there is nothing we can do in post to fix this. You are getting it now, and that's how you get things to work. And that's one of the things that I got wrong for like a long time. I would just get whatever tone and try and fix it later. I'm not doing that anymore, and I'm not doing that today. All right, let me clear this up real quick. I don't mean that you can't do anything in post. I mean that you can't make a mistake in recording or hear something like a bad tone and think to myself, oh, I'll just fix it later. You gotta get it right now. Shout out Joe Gilder. So just gotta find the speaker. I'm super excited because I've only gotten to really mic this thing up a handful of times. And this is a bidirectional microphone, which means we're gonna get a couple things that we can try. One thing I also learned is that mic placement is literally everything. So you kind of almost have to act a little bit crazy with how precise you wanna get over here. All right, so at this point, we're most of the way there. There's only 2 more tools that I haven't shown yet. I got this actually a while ago, and I've been using it for a lot of recording. So it's kind of like a cloud lifter that someone might use for an SM7B. It's called a D-Booster. So I've just made specifically for Royer by this, and I've been using it on the R10. It sounds great. And my other tool is the actual guitar. My telly, my baby. And I'm gonna be trying to use as few pedals as possible just because of the actual act of recording. I like to do a lot of things when it comes to specific effects like reverb, delay, all of that. I like to have a little bit more manipulation on those. So I won't be using that from the pedals, but actually from Logic. The only thing I might use a little bit is some drive. So let's see what we got. All right, so I'm starting off like super simple, right? My biggest decision was whether to use the DS1 or the Tube Screamer. And for this one, I think I went with the Tube Screamer just because the DS1, just for what I'm about to show you, is a little bit heavy. It's a little bit heavy, and I like the Tube Screamer had a little bit more subtlety because it's a little bit more of a pop track. But let's get to it. I'm trying to be about simplicity, especially in a pop track. So the parts are not very complicated, but I think once they get going in the mix, they're gonna work well. And the other thing that I'm a little bit worried about is like amp noise, but I think in the mix, it won't be a problem. So let's do it. I want a small like lead line, just on the low string, because that one's high. I felt like it needed a good acoustic part just to like add some texture to it.
I don't know how we got down. It'd take me a while, but I figured it out.
So like I was saying before, I have the R10 as well. And it was cool to be able to like audition the mics beforehand to just see like even how similar mics can be different from each other. We got to really ask the question with all of this, like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of all of this, of miking and everything? And it's just like I said before, we're living in this age where every guitar player is kind of this jack of all trades, an engineer, producer, recording artist, and you need to kind of be able to like play all those roles. And especially when it comes to recording something that's so specific, where you have to get it right at the source, where you have to make sure the mic placement, the mic choice, the actual tone of what you're using is so on to get the best possible product. And I think it worked pretty well for what I was able to do with this track. Also, make sure to tell me in the comments if you want me to finish the full thing, because I think that might be a fun project. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Love checking out the R121 and just focusing a little bit more on mic placement in this one. If you want to know anything more about those mics, make sure to check out the links in the description. Like and subscribe if you had a good time, and most important of all, like most important, actually the most important thing, have a fantastic day.